follow-up question to
Yes.
that. You talk about, when we talk about segregation, a lot of what's going on now is these new community cityhood movements, where you have communities inside of counties that are now incorporating themselves out of the majority, and what it leaves is the resources, that it pulls the resources. So the county, so I particularly work in DeKalb County, so you have all of these other cities, these incorporated cities that didn't take resources out of the incorporated areas, and then it's almost as if the resources that are left, there's nothing left after, because they literally take on like the 3 simplest tasks as a city, and then it leaves the entire county to pay for the rest of the resources. So to stretch that on a larger scale, it's also going on on a global or on a national level. So I know you to add that in there, you talk about family case program when we talk about immigration and things like that. These are programs that are going to again house and a lot of resources, and they're going to take a lot of money. And where does that leave some of the what could be family case management programs inside of these smaller communities that are already within the United States that are being abandoned a little bit? Because going further, you know, this looks into mass incarceration, things of this nature. It's a spiraling effect. And you talked about it, I'm just tying everything of some of your prior conversations together. We talked about this, and you talked about going to the source, to go to the source in places like Guatemala, all of these things, and prevent, because the best cure is prevention. So how do you tie that into, on a national level for us as the United States, down into a county level where we're really experiencing this cityhood movement globally?
Yeah, it's a great question. It seems like it's in line with some of the other questions we've been asked today. I think it underscores how important democratic participation is. So those city council members, those county commissioners, those state senators and state representatives who will make these decisions about zoning or incorporation, those really are determined first and foremost by local elections. But to this really good question about housing that preceded yours, if you have an entrenched community that is taking resources out of the traditional city center, leaving a much more shallow tax base that cannot fund police and fire or teachers or needed investment, that's a very appropriate role for federal investment. We have about $4 trillion of outstanding infrastructure needs unmet in this country right now. My administration will prioritize infrastructure investments in communities that have been left behind, or people have picked up and taken the tax base out of the community, as you have just described. We were just recently, to use another South Carolina story, we were recently in Denmark, South Carolina. They had been treating their water system with something like pool cleaner that had poisoned the water system. It's a $15 million repair job. They don't have the tax base to support that. That's an infrastructure investment the federal government should make for clean drinking water in Denmark or Flint, Michigan, or the Central Valley of California, or where we may have water systems in Georgia and the state of Texas that don't have the tax base that can support the repair. Same for roads and bridges, broadband internet in both urban communities and rural communities where it's missing today. So there's a role for us to step in when, for whatever reason, local government has been unable to meet the challenges right there. In our administration, we will vigorously pursue those opportunities with your guidance at the local level. Thanks for the question.